2023 World Champions are People's Force.
Well, hello everyone, my name is Liam Kernahan and I am absolutely delighted to be joined with New Zealand's two newest world champions, Liam Argyle and Davy Clark. Boys, couple of words, how does it feel?
Sensational. It's absolutely an outstanding feeling. It still hasn't really sunk in completely yet. I'm still sort of on cloud nine. I've still got a smile on my face, and every day I'm waking up and re-watching the clip of us getting announced as the winners, and yeah, it's such a cool feeling.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, over the moon.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of New Zealanders, watching deep in the morning, it was very late. A lot of people had stayed up all night. Just talk us through the feeling of that moment. Was it expected? Was it something that you'd sort of heard through the grapevine that might be possible? Sort of, what were the feelings right beforehand, before your name was called out as world champions? Maybe Davey, will start with you.
I think I don't know that it was necessarily expected. I think we knew that we were in with a shot, being definitely one of the top three bands through the season. The anticipation after having the drumming announced was absolutely dreadful, really. to know that you're in there with a shot and just waiting on, expecting to hear something else, but actually hearing People's Forward, that's all I heard. Yeah, no, it was amazing. But yeah, we knew we put out four really good runs, so there was nothing we heard through the grapevine, but yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it myself either, because when you stand at the front there as one of the centre bands, you can see the cameras and where the cameras are pointing, and the cameras just before they announced it weren't pointing on us, so I was sort of concerned. I was convinced it wasn't going to be us, because I could see the cameras pointing to other bands, and then same with Davy. As soon as I heard the People's bit, I didn't hear anything else. I didn't even find out the results for the rest of the grade until the next day, essentially, because you hear that People's and then you just erupt, with all the excitement, with everything going around you. I thought it might be SFU actually. After they got the drumming, I thought they might be in there, and I was sort of ready to clap them and cheer them on for winning overall. And then it was all of a sudden us, and yeah, a really big shot. There had been a lot of chat with people saying that a lot of the crowd really enjoyed us, and we had the biggest cheer after we played. And I kind of put that down to the vloggle series that's been sort of going along with the band as well. So a lot of the public actually know the band and follow the band now, and so I was a bit reserved with whether we could do it, but we did have four very good runs on the park, and we were very proud of how we played.
Yeah, and we'll come to the day and days shortly, but I just think, reflecting on how special it is for a band like Boghall, the best band to have never won the Worlds until this year, coming close a number of times, winning numerous majors. I mean, Liam, from your perspective, having played with Boghall for a number of seasons beforehand and now sort of being part of it when they've won, what does it mean for a band like Boghall to not only, have a change of leadership and sort of have a great start to the season, but then to ultimately take that first prize for the first time in more than 50 years?
Yeah, it's something the band's been working towards for 51 years. This is our 51st season, and the band's been runners-up many times, and it was like a big relief to finally get across the line and get rid of that title that we've had as the best band and never won the Worlds. It's a saying that sort of followed the band around for quite a few years now. It's all the hard work that goes right back to the original pipe major, Bob Martin, when he started the band. Everyone from Bob Martin to Craig Walker to Ross Walker, from Tom Brown to Gordon Brown, all the teaching that's been done in the band is what's led on to the success we had this year. And this win is actually for everyone in the organisation who's sort of played through the organisation. It's for all of us. That's what Ross Harvey's been saying. It's for everyone who's been a part of Boghall at some point in their life has helped us to get to this point. And so it was a huge relief for the band to actually win it finally.
And Davey, I guess, coming in for your first season and probably having essentially the dream run for you, what what did you observe in terms of kind of the emotions of the band? I mean, there's a lot of players in the band that have been there for 20, 25 years. You know, I'm thinking of like Grant Walker. You know, I'm thinking of a number of others who have been there for um, potentially over a decade. You know, you're coming in for a year basically. What did you observe in terms of the emotion and the feeling on the day?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible to see people that have been, competing for well over 40 years and with Boghall for, like you said, over a decade. There's many, many people in that band who've been there for well over a decade. And to see them finally get across the line with the first place was pretty amazing. And yeah, to me, it feels like I cheated a wee bit just coming in for the first time and, getting the UKs and then getting the Worlds as well. But yeah, it was awesome to see everyone else's reaction and all of their hard work coming to the fore, really.
Yeah, and certainly watching the live stream of the announcement of the band going nuts, you know, it was pretty unreal and something pretty special, I'm sure. Band
I think there
members
was
will.
a there was a bass drone broken.
I was gonna say I did see the top of a bass drone hanging off a drone cord, and look, I think, probably, in terms of winning, they're probably delighted irrespective of breaking the pipes. But
Yeah.
but Davey, I mean, in terms of, your journey, look, what sort of drew you to Boghall? Because as I say, it's your first season. We're post pandemic now. What made you pick Boghall and decide that this was the right year to go and be part of what turned out to be an absolute blinder of a season for the band?
Well, I mean, I've quite enjoyed Bogle right back to when I first got involved with Scott Burrell. And of course, learning off him around 10 years ago, he taught me a few of the Bogle scores and whatnot. I quite enjoyed playing along. I quite enjoyed listening. That Campbell's Tartan Army medley was definitely one of my favourites. It still is one of my favourites. So when, yeah, when my name came up in the conversation, just decided really that I needed to give it a shot. I've always kind of told myself if I didn't do it by the time I was 30, I'd probably never do it. So, yeah, being 29 now, it was definitely a good time. There's never a perfect time to do it, but that was about as good as I think I was going to be able to get, really.
And Liam, for you, I mean, this is what, third or fourth season with the
Uh,
band?
Fourth season with the band.
Fourth season with the band. So, what made you? Because the first season was 2013, right? I mean,
2014.
2014. Sorry,
Yes.
yeah. So 2014. So, A, what made you pick Bulk back then, and then B, what made you come back for this
Uh,
season?
s- so what made me pick Boghall originally was in 2013. Well, technically 2013 is when I joined the band. 14 was my first full season. I saw the drum corps practicing at the Worlds in 2013, and it was one of those drum corps that I sort of had my eye on for a little bit. I knew how good they were, but seeing them live in 2013, they were phenomenal, and the way they played and the scores Gordon wrote just really like sung to me a little bit, and I kind of fell in love with the drum corps actually there and then, the whole band. It was like seeing them live, and I was standing there and I just knew that's what I want to do. I want to be part of that drum corps. And so yeah, went and joined in 14, 15, and 16. And unfortunately, I ran out of visas and money to stay in the band. So I had a working holiday visa for 2 years for 14 and 15, and then went back again for 16, even though I couldn't really afford to do it. But I went back anyway for the love of the band, and got to the end of 16, and unfortunately had to leave the band because I couldn't get a visa for the UK anymore, and I didn't actually have any money, and so I didn't have many options but to leave. So I kind of left the band with regrets because I didn't really want to leave. And then the whole pandemic happened and things like that, and I ended up kind of plush a bit more with money, and so I had a bit more money in a savings account. And after the pandemic and all that, I decided, you know what, I'd really like to go and give this another go again. And with Kerr taking over, it was quite special as well because Kerr's father is the one who got me in the band originally, and he became my mentor over there, Stevie McCullen. And when I was over there the first time, I used to babysit Kerr from time to time. And so when he was about 10 or 11 year old, I used to go and babysit him and look after him and his brother. And so it was quite special him taking over because I knew how much of a talent he was and, well, is. And so I really wanted to go and play under him. So I first approached Stevie just to see what, feel him out kind of thing. And then within a week, I was on a video call and, yeah, straight back into the band again and absolutely loving it.
And you sort of mentioned there a little bit about visas, and I think that comes on to the next bit, which is sort of how and basically making it possible, right? And sort of, I'd be keen to understand how it works from a practical perspective from you, because obviously you go over there, you've obviously got work in New Zealand, you're making pretty significant sacrifices. Just talk us through, I think, from a personal perspective, some of those challenges, some of those sacrifices that you've had to deal with, and why you decided that was kind of benefit to kind of give up a bit of New Zealand life for 6 months and go and live abroad.
Well, essentially, I had to resign from my job. I handed back the keys to the apartment that I had. I basically had to cut life off in New Zealand, essentially. I went and quite fortunately had friends in Christchurch here where I was able to go and store furniture and boxes, and I essentially wrapped up life in New Zealand and put it on hold for 6 months. I walked away from my job. I walked away from a place to live. Basically had to cut it off cold turkey and wrap all that up. And because the whole deal to play for Kerr was I had to be there for 6 months or for the entire season. Especially in the drum corps, he wasn't really interested in fly-ins coming across just for the worlds or finger pointing the majors kind of thing. Like if you're going to go across and play there, he wanted me there for the whole shooting box essentially. So I basically had to move across the world kind of thing and forget about New Zealand and go with that sort of mentality. And then unfortunately, I still can't get a visa for the UK, but I can go on a tourist visa for 6 months and stay in the UK for 6 months. And I was very fortunate to have a good friend of mine put me up for the 6 months, which made a great help and made it far more easy to actually do this trip. If it wasn't for Isla Crankston, I possibly wouldn't have been able to do the trip. It was I'm very grateful for her to do that.
And Isla's late father, obviously a former member of the drum corps and pretty
Yes.
instrumental in terms of Boghall. I mean, the entire family pretty instrumental to Boghall.
Oh yes, yep. Actually, not her father, her stepfather though. But Neil was a huge part of the drum corps for many, many, many years. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him. Unfortunately, he'd passed away before I came on the scene. But he was a huge pillar of the drum corps for many, many, many years. So I have a very great connection with that family, and yeah, it's been one of the fantastic benefits I've actually got out of playing for Boghall was meeting the Crankstons and having them like family. I call them my Scottish family now, and they're absolutely lovely people.
And Davey, for you, obviously not only yourself going over and playing, but you had Megan with you, and obviously, as difficult it was for Liam, obviously having two of you in the UK for an extended period of time probably presents its own different challenges.
Yeah, so us, it's a whole lot easier for us because both of our fathers were actually born
Okay.
in England, so we've both got UK passports. Not to keep rubbing it in your face, Liam, but we can come and go as we please, and we can work there and live there permanently if we wish. To be honest, finding jobs wasn't the easiest thing. It did take a few weeks to get a job that was actually worth doing. I did start off standing in a factory putting carrots in a box for 2 shifts, and I said no. Absolutely was not going to carry on doing that, but I got myself a forklift license and went and drove a forklift at a roofing supplies company for the time I was there, and Megan worked at a cattery, Kettles and Cattery actually. So it was easier for us being that we could just show up with a passport and get in the country. No worries with visas or anything like that, but of course, brings in its own worries having to work while you're there, and it takes away from the time actually practicing or anything like that. But that's just kind of just felt like regular life, but in another country.
And Megan's obviously a pretty successful tenor drummer herself. Did she do any playing over there, or was she essentially number one fan, biggest supporter, making sure you're fed and watered, and then screaming from the sidelines when you have a good performance.
Yeah, so she got sticks out a couple of times to get a lesson from Stevie McQuillan, but other than that, she did a bit of dancing over there, and she did pretty well. In all fairness, she won the North Berwick Highland Games,
Oh wow.
which was pretty awesome. So yeah, she didn't really do much drumming, but she did get into a bit of dancing, and she, yeah, very, very good supporter. Always stood maybe a few meters too far away from the band though. Yeah.
She was the chief recorder for the drum corps. She always had the phone out recording
Yeah.
all the performances, and the drum corps absolutely loved it for that because she would put the recording straight up in the WhatsApp group for us to all have a listen to after we'd played. Good
And
cake
ab-
carrier.
an absolutely
Mm.
critical role. So, Davey, if we go back to the start of the season and essentially your first contest or first couple of contests, you had some success really early on, winning the drumming at both Gurrick and then at Perth, and then
Dollar.
obviously Dollar, sorry, and then obviously winning the first major of the season, the UK's. Just want to talk us through maybe how that played out in terms of the band internally. The mindset, sort of feeling on the day, what you were trying to achieve, and then I guess how that potentially set you up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, it was good. And internally, the band was really, I don't want to say critical, but we really did think about, the build-ups that we had at Gurrick and Dollar, and it certainly wasn't effective. Just keep doing the same thing and hope it gets better. Now there were changes made to what we were doing and kind of refining the tuning up process and the warming up process and all of that, and it all came together for the UK. So when I remember standing before we actually went up to the board and all the pipers struck up, and it was just a huge, brilliant sound, and it was just a wow moment to be standing behind that, in a core of great drummers, an amazing pipe corps out the front, and yeah, to you know all the leadership guys, they just keep working away on things that might need improvement, and I think it worked out pretty well.
Really well. And then, Liam, I guess if we go to the day of the UK's at Lurgan, talk us through what that looks like for New Zealanders who may not be there, not just in terms of the contest itself, but I guess the pressure on you guys at that early stage with the new leadership group. Obviously a lot of hype around the band, but also, you know, with the victory, what comes with that in terms of the next majors and then ultimately leading up to the Worlds.
Yeah, so Lurgan was actually the first major of the season because the first major that was supposed to happen actually got cancelled. So this was the first time that we had the big contest with all the bands, and so Lurgan's actually near Belfast in Northern Ireland. So the band actually travelled on the Friday all the way from Scotland across. So it's a bit of a flyaway contest as such for the band, and so we all travelled across, and some people got on the band bus, some of us flew across, but we all got there on Friday night. We had a practice on Thursday, and it was the first time that we had a few of the fly-ins turn up, and everything was sounding really, really good, and we were in a very good place, I think, before we even stepped foot in Northern Ireland, and it was feeling very, very good. When we turned up there on the day of the contest, the weather was beautiful. It was blue skies and one of those glorious days that you don't normally get very much in the UK, but it was a fantastic sort of feeling when you turn up and you're like, okay, we don't even have to worry about the weather today. And where our band bus actually parked up, we were sort of out of the way a little bit. We were sort of down the back, and we were kind of quite a wee ways away from all the other grade one bands all warming up. So we were sort of a little bit secluded and a little bit more private, and it felt very relaxed. As we got off the band bus and then we set the drums up, and it was a very, very relaxed build up and morning. What we do as a band in our build ups is that the pipers like to go and have a blowdown straight away when they get there, get the pipes out, and we go and blow down as a band and sort of focus on the ensemble a little bit. And they just sort of initially getting their readings and things like that. And it was a very relaxed sort of morning as we were sort of building up into the contest. And then what happens is once we had the blowdown, then the pipers then go and chill for a bit, and the drum corps we were sort of in the same. We went and had a little bit of a lunch break and very relaxed, and everything was sounding very, very good. We were quietly confident with the drumming, being as we'd won the first two minors in drumming. The drum corps was very confident of where we were, and we thought we were in with a shout of winning the drumming. And we thought if the Pipers could have a really good day, as a team, we could very well be in the mix here, which is a very nice sort of feeling to go into a contest, actually, as you're playing on in that sort of level. And then as we got closer to the time to play, we ended up moving down into the final tune and sort of closer to all the bands, and that's when the crowd comes around you, and you end up, two or three people deep, and everyone was wanting to get a look at us and have a look. But again, it was still very relaxed. The Pipers actually were tuned up and ready to go before we even called across to come across. They were standing there and they were ready to go. And as a drum corps, we were on fire, and we were only really playing when the Pipers wanted us to play. We were very relaxed, and it was like, this is sounding really good, guys. We'll just do whatever the Pipers need us to do. Now it's just on them. We'll just make sure the Pipers get a really good sound. And yeah, then we went on and put it on the park, and it was a phenomenal run. It was a blinder kind of thing. We all came off, and it was such a good vibe coming off. It was such a good feeling. Everyone came off, and everyone was very happy. So we knew we were in the mix, and then to win it was outstanding. Again, a little bit of a shock. I wasn't entirely expecting to win it. I'm kind of reserved when I'm standing there waiting for results. I don't build it up too much and get myself disappointed if we don't win. And so it was fantastic to win. But then after that, coming up to the next contest, all of a sudden we had a target on our backs. We were the ones that everyone was going to look to see, and really wanted to beat us. And so 2 weeks after the UK Championships, we had the minor contest in Edinburgh, and we had competition there because Inverary decided to come and do Edinburgh as well. I was kind of hoping actually we would have one nice easy contest for the year, a contest where you turn up and you're the only one in the grade, and so you can just turn up and it's completely relaxed and you don't have to worry about any competition and you can just go out and enjoy it and play. But Inverary turned up, so it meant that we actually had to come and really be competitive, and we played well yet again. Edinburgh, being a minor, was an MSA and a medley contest, which was quite good, and we were fortunate enough to win Edinburgh as well and take the drumming, take both drumming titles as well. So Edinburgh was a very, very successful contest for us as well.
And Davy, I guess in terms of, you've played at the Bulls before with other bands, but in terms of your first major with a major band, what were some of the emotions going through your mind leading up to the performance, and then also when you were announced, UK champs? Because essentially at Lurgan you were 1 from 1. You had a perfect record in terms of majors with Boghall on that stage.
Yeah, it was a little bit daunting because all the majors over there are bigger than the nationals in New Zealand, and it's incredible to see just all the bands and all the names, and when you go into the tune-up area, the final tuning area, you're just walking past Field Marshal, Slot, Inverary, Power, Shots, all the the biggest names in pipe banding are all in that same field 10 meters away from you, and you've got to listen to them all as you walk past them to go into tune up yourself, and they all sound amazing. So it is a bit daunting, it is a bit scary when you get through that kind of area, but you just you're there to do a job, really, at that level, isn't it? You're not. It is a hobby, but when you're playing at that level, it's just a bit more than a hobby. So you just got to put it out of your mind and go on and do your job, really. And yeah, when we won, it was just it was unreal again. To me, it's really indescribable. I can't put it into too many words, to be fair. But again, I kind of felt like I cheated. So, a lot of guys in the band were there 11 years ago when they won the major in 2012. Which you were there as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I think the last time the band won was 2012 Cal.
Yeah.
Sorry, won a major was 2012 Cal. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the guys was, there's still a lot of people in the band from then, and to come in and for the very first major you played with them and to win it felt just a bit cheeky, but I wasn't really complaining though. It was pretty amazing.
No, I can imagine, irrespective of whether you've been there 10 minutes or 10 years, you'd definitely not be complaining.